when I made the film, it was to encourage women to talk about what was going on with them, because we normally don't talk about these things. We're shamed about our periods,
Mm.
shamed about the natural functioning of our biological journey. So now, 2 years after I make the film, women are talking about it.
What if the truth came in a gel cap and we could just pop it in our mouths and forget about it? Well, it doesn't, and we can't. But we can laugh in the face of reality while plotting our survival. Welcome to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast. I am your host, Hirsch Redpun, and if my guests can handle the truth, so can you. Open wide, folks. Here it comes. My guest today on Truth Tastes Funny is Satori Shakoor. She's an acclaimed storyteller, a multidisciplinary artist, and a social entrepreneur. She was recognized as a 2017 Kresge Literary Arts Fellow. And Satori began her career touring with George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic as a member of the Brides of Funkenstein. So I think you already get a sense that there's a fun aspect to Satori. We have that in common, the stand-up comedy and all that other stuff. She's done acting, she's done stand-up comedy, she's a writer, a Moth Mainstage storyteller, and she's host of Detroit performs live for Detroit PBS, and she captivates audiences worldwide on stages, PBS, NPR, and top podcasts. She's the executive producer of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. Another thing to endear her to me and to us, an internationally recognized storytelling platform that leads the Society for the Reinstitutionalization of Storytelling, partnering with major institutions like Duke University and the University of Michigan. Her latest project is the comedic stand-up storytelling project concert film. It's called Conventions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale.
Confessions.
What? Confessions. What did I say?
Conventions.
No, I said confessions, but
Oh,
I might have not said it well. I know what you're doing. You're grabbing a little extra exposure there.
Okay.
Confectionery. Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale, which premieres Thursday, June 12th on Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, Google Play, and YouTube. A lifelong learner, Satori studied at Wayne State University, Michigan State, the University of Hawaii, the Groundlings, and Second City Toronto. Through her artistry and leadership, she continues to inspire, transform, and connect communities across the globe. Satori Shakoor, welcome to Truth Tastes Funny.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to have you. Let us start with conventions. Maybe I did say conventions. Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. Tell us about the show. Tell us about the film.
Well, it's a feature-length film, and it chronicles my 12-year journey through perimenopause and menopause with flashbacks to other parts of my life. I made the film. It was a promise to my younger self, because when I was 45, 47 years old, I didn't recognize myself. I mean, I thought I had lived that long and I knew who I was. I was certain, secure female, and I didn't recognize myself. I was crying. My heart was beating fast, night sweats, mood swings. I was alienating coworkers and friends. There were just so many changes going on with me that it was kind of scary. So I asked my mother, and she was like, I don't remember. I asked other women. I'm too young. Clearly, they were not. Or some women just said, I refuse to go, the crystal wearing Birkenstock women. I refuse to go through menopause. So there was really no one that I could get information from. I was sort of navigating this whole journey by myself. I did get into a musical called Menopause the Musical, where I was meeting other women who had symptoms, but I wasn't really learning anything about me because it's unique for every woman. So I made a promise to myself, I'm going to go through this. And when I get to the other side, I'm going to write about it. So it turned into a story. That story expanded and developed into a stage play. That stage play was performed in July 2023. I made a film out of the performance, and we've been through the post production and all of that stuff. So, after a 7 year journey to make this film, finally, it's going to
Wow.
be released on June 12th on
Well,
Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus, Google Play. And so
that's
that's
great.
exciting. It's exciting to know that I can sustain a promise and a vision for this many years, not really knowing what I was doing. But I think that you know as well as I do, if you stand in your commitment and you stay there and you do the work, you will attract all of the elements that you need to accomplish your journey. Not to say I didn't make mistakes or lose money, but I look at that. I look on the bright side. You say truth tastes funny.
Yeah.
Well, I have to acknowledge that that money, it wasn't really a waste because I looked at it like tuition,
Hmm.
like the price I had to pay to learn to get to where I am. So,
Well,
um,
we all
exciting.
pay to play. We all pay to learn. We pay for our lessons. Hopefully we learn our lessons. I mean, that's the goal, is to grow, to keep growing. Um,
Call
you know,
investment.
yeah, yeah, it is. As you were talking about, people who say, I refuse to go through menopause." It's like, can you really buy your way out of menopause? I have never heard of that. I am down to buy my way out of andropause, if that
What's that?
becomes. Andropause is apparently like the male menopause.
Oh,
Um, there is, yeah, I have some friends who specialize in menopause, in community and treatment and all this stuff, and they have told me that. I have so many other things going on that I don't have any idea whether it's something I'm experiencing or not. But I'm cognizant of the fact that as we get older, shit changes. I know it don't stay the same. Um,
call the
well,
change of life. That's another name.
yes. Well, change of life. So I remember an episode of oh my God, why now I'm blanking on the show, on the Archie Bunker, um, the
Edith.
yeah, Edith Bunker, and she says I'm going through a change of life. And he says, if you're going to go through a change of life, I'm giving you 10 minutes. Change. So, so what do you consider change of life to be an apt description?
Yes.
Well, tell
It's
tell us a little.
it demarcates one part of your life from another. So, so part of my story is that when my mother was 50, I was 14. So
Mm,
we now know that 50 is when you can start to notice perimenopause, when the most symptoms occur. 14 is when you're growing breasts and having well, you probably have had your menses for 3 years by now, but you're starting to be attracted to boys, or you're going to be attracted to girls. Hormones are happening.
right, right.
And so my mother is moving away from her perky, juicy self, and I'm moving into my perky.
Yeah.
So there's a clash. The house was a clash of hormones at the time. And
Wow.
her personality was completely different. She seemed like a different person. She seemed angry all the time. She was very she kind of managed my uterus almost. It seemed like I was under uterus management. I come home from a date. Well, did you? And I
Yeah.
could see that she had a concern because now I could get pregnant.
Hmm.
There were a lot of things that I was vulnerable to now that I was a young woman. And so I could see different things but didn't know what it was. I couldn't put a name to it. So it is a change of life because in one sense you're coming into the ability to have to birth children, to you're coming into the peak of your life.
Sure.
And on my mother's side, she was losing her reproductive capability, which she probably was happy to do. She had 6 children, you
Yeah.
know, and so that's a celebration right there. You're free of periods. You don't have to worry about getting pregnant. You have this whole other part of your life to live if you're lucky, and you have the experience, you have the wisdom, and if you have the ability to self-define. You're not performing for a patriarchal male lens, or you don't have to. And I think that that was what was happening at the time I was asking the women around me at the time I was going through this, because at that time there were all these self-help books, how to get married, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, the
Yeah.
rules, catch them and keep them, all of these instructive books about how to get a man and how to keep him.
Yeah.
And all of the books, most of the books were written by men, and the ones that weren't written by men were written by women who had patriarchal mindset, which meant that I had to sort of suppress my wholeness to be smaller. You have such big muscles. I had to be something smaller than what I had lived all this life to be. And
Yeah.
it was not appealing to me at all. So
Well,
I threw the book down, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and literally jumped up and down on it. Like, the hell with
yeah.
you. I put it in a garage sale and forgot about it.
Right. Well, I have a couple of questions for you. One is, do you think that that women today, both, both on both sides of it, the young women that are just coming into their maturity, and then women who are perimenopausal and getting into that phase,
Mhm.
um, what, how do you think they feel at this moment in society, at this moment?
At this moment, let me just give you some stats.
Yeah.
The largest demographic of people in the United States are women in some stage of menopause. The largest demographic. Uh, 2 million women come into perimenopause every single day. That's huge.
Mm,
So, and that's probably new to humanity because we didn't live this long. Women didn't live this long probably before the 20th century.
hmm.
They were plowing fields and dying from diseases that there weren't any remedies for or hadn't found yet or didn't know about. So you
Yeah.
didn't live long enough to experience this phase of life. Um, when I made the film, it was to encourage women to talk about what was going on with them because we normally don't talk about these things. We're shamed about our periods.
Hmm.
We're shamed about the natural functioning of our biological journey. So now, 2 years after I make the film, women are talking about it because women have now are at a stage where they're very powerful, running for president, governors of states. Halle Berry has come out as the face of menopause. She was misdiagnosed with herpes when it was really a symptom of menopause. It caused temporarily some issues with a man she's very much in love with. You know, so we don't have enough. You're lucky because you have someone that specializes and understands this phase of medicine. But
Hmm.
there, it hadn't been studied heretofore because women were tab
Yeah.
taboo. They were silent, didn't talk about it. And so there was no demand. Whereas men, they demand to know. They know when to start checking their prostate. They know where to go for ED. Commercials are on TV. There's no shame around it. You're proud. Um,
Yeah.
and you have women advocating for hymns. Guess what? Hymns. And so we don't have that same thing on the female side. We're expected to be perky, and other than that, if we're not relevant in some way to a man, then we need to get in a rocking chair, put our glasses on our nose, and babysit our grandchildren. But the opposite is true. You've lived this long, you've gained this much wisdom, you have this much experience. You may be a PhD, a CEO, a grandmother, an athlete, bodybuilder. You're a lot of things. So
Well,
why would
that's,
you suppress that for the sake of what?
yeah.
So yes, we are talking about it now because enough women in power on the workplace, because billions of dollars are being lost because women can't come. They either quit their jobs, or they don't want to be embarrassed by the hot sweats or the cramping or the depression, whatever the symptoms are. So we need to create more people in the medical field who can address this problem. And we need to provide health insurance to women to address these issues. Here in Michigan, I'm part of the Michigan Women's Commission. I volunteered to do the town halls with them and go around the state talking about menopause. Halle Berry was here. We all met at the governor's mansion, and she had 4 doctors there, and they're fundraising to go around the state and become sort of a prototype for the rest of the United States to get women talking about it. Oprah had a primetime special on this subject at 9 o'clock in the evening. So women are now talking about it, whereas before I didn't have that. So that's great, but it's going to take at least a year, 2 years to develop the doctors who specialize, because right now they only devote 1 hour in their medical training to menopause.
Yeah. So this is interesting that walk us through a little bit, if you would. The and I get that it's different for everybody, but well, you could walk us through your experience, what the phases are. I think if nothing else, if the audience gets starts getting through interviews like these, just a really kind of clearer and less uh precious kind of understanding of it, that to really get a sense of it. And that's what the film is poised to convey. But if you could just in a few minutes now kind of walk through the highlights, lowlights of the menopause experience.
Okay, so I'm going to split it into 2 parts.
Okay.
And I'm going to open by saying every woman has different experience, different symptoms. So what I might have experienced, it could be completely different than from another woman. A lot of the symptoms present as something else. And if you can't identify it as menopause, you might say it's herpes. One of the things, suddenly becomes painful. So something that you may have enjoyed with your partner, with your husband, suddenly becomes very painful because the walls are thinning there. And so and there are products now that address that, so you can now have a healthy and pleasurable sex life. Hot flashes, there where you just have this internal sweating that can happen anytime due to stress. Maybe you had some spicy food, maybe you had a glass of wine. Night sweats, where you wake up and your bed sheets are completely soaked. Heart palpitations, where your heart beats real fast. Insomnia. I was waking up consistently every day every morning at 3 a.m. till finally I stopped saying, "What's wrong with you?" And just
Hmm.
using that time, I would wake up right till 6, go to the gym, edit on the treadmill, come home, and wait for the matinee so I could go to the theater and do the matinee if it was a matinee day, or my day was pretty much finished by noon. Uh, the
Hmm.
the stuff I had to do, grocery shop, this and that. So I made use of the changes that were going on in my life.
Okay.
Um, I had a very low tolerance for bullshit. A lot of the relationships that I had, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but the fake, inauthentic relationships that I had with women and men, I let them go. And that was kind of scary to one day notice that you were saying exactly what you thought, that you were
So
being honest.
so you had Satori prior kind of really watched yourself, checked yourself,
Oh,
and
yes. Oh, I'm a woman. I was socialized to be nice. And I stopped being nice, was saying exactly what was on my mind. And when I checked with myself, I didn't even really care. I mean, I didn't give a shit. I just told you the truth and I
yeah.
don't care. And then I would wake up every morning going, you're gonna have to apologize to at least 3 people today, right?
So basically, you became Larry David for a number of years.
And
Curb Your
still,
Enthusiasm.
yes, but it was throwing me off guard because it was a new aspect of myself.
Yeah.
Now I am just who I am. So people meeting me newly or people who are know me well know me as this person who speaks straight and clear and doesn't have to be trying to please anybody
Right.
because pleasing myself, I'm not, and I know how to manage the way my communication, and I'm not angry because the mood swings will have a tinge of upset. You're upset or have some anxiety, which will tinge your communication or throw you off guard. So I'm just who I am, sitting in my own power, sitting
Yeah.
in my life authentically, and very happy that I don't have to check or edit myself when I'm in conversation.
It's interesting that you mentioned the fallout of honesty. Um, because what it maybe opens up is, well, what are we so afraid of, right? What are both men and women afraid of when it comes to being honest? It's a big thing for me, the whole selling the truth concept that I use in my work, which revolves around a lifelong fascination with truth and deception. And I just, without even judging it, I kind of have observed in my life just a lot of bullshit and a lot of deception that is almost, I mean, and I'm not even talking politically. I'm just talking about people I've known my whole life who are just compulsive bullshit artists. And they can't tell you the truth because it's just so much more comfortable to lie. And I don't know, uh, why we can't kick this habit, but it seems like maybe that's one of the benefits of going through menopause is that you reach a level of maturity where you don't give a shit anymore, where you're
Yes,
like, okay, I'm over it.
yes. You don't give a shit about the things that kept you deceptive. Well, first of
Uh-huh.
all, I think we hang on to these pieces, tattered, torn relationships because they're familiar to us.
Mm-hmm.
And they're comforting, like you said. The to people please has a certain amount of comfort to it. I can count on you to tell me what I need to hear, whether you mean it or not, or whether it's true or not. And you can count on me for the same thing. I think people are often afraid to be lonely. They have not they have not and not ever just been themselves to be able to attract someone to just being themselves.
Right.
we have never really um, just stood for who we accepted ourselves. So how can you expect somebody else to accept you when you know that part of you is always lying? When you can't say, I apologize, when you can't be wrong, when there are just all these things that we've designed ourselves and our personalities to be, which is to cover up who we really are, which we think we don't like or don't like, and we think somebody else won't like it too. So I think it's all very human, and
Hmm.
I don't judge it, but I can sniff it out.
Yeah.
And now I have the maturity and I have the proof on this side of menopause where it's way more relaxing to just be you and say what there is to say. You're not, there is no intention to hurt anybody's feelings. There is no intention to be rude or anything like that. You, and people can count on me to be honest. And so now they come to me and they ask me what my opinion is. I give it to them and they thank me
And
because I hope they're under no obligation
yeah,
to
to
do
take your
anything else.
advice or to act on it.
No. But you ask,
So,
share it,
s-
and then I go on with my life.
so Satori, on the other side of
Yeah.
this experience, because we're getting into that now, you're talking about kind of a more liberated feeling.
Yeah.
So, what happens uh, after this on the other side of this transition?
It's very gradual. But what happens is you look at your life, the life you've lived, the regrets, the inauthenticities, the failures, the all of the things that you haven't forgiven yourself for, all the things that you haven't been responsible or accountable for. And I literally started calling people up and apologizing to them for whatever it was that I felt that I had done some harm to them. And you begin to take stock of your life. The regrets turn into learning experiences. You begin to transform the stories that you had about who you were in the past. You,
Hmm.
you are now moving into a stage of your life where you're losing people to death, where like my mother died, and then 9 months later, my son died, and death is a transformation as well. I mean, it's something, you're not the same when your mother and your son died. The bookends, the past
Yeah.
that's given you everything, and then the future that you were going to support living into. Now you're just spinning out there, and now you have to reinvent yourself from nothing. And that is scary, but at the same time, it's very powerful. And
How
so I created a lot of things as I was crawling back from the numb of hell.
I was going to ask, how you coped with that double loss, and was that, the loss of your son something sudden, or, you know,
He was in a car accident in 2001 and where he suffered a severe brain injury. And even though once they put his skull back in, and once, he woke up and he could still do poetry, but sometimes he would just stop, or he'd use different words. Like he was Muslim. Instead of saying mosque, he would say praying house. And so
hmm.
some of his language was very poetic. And he was still, he was him, but a different him, and he would
Right.
have seizures. And so one day he had a massive seizure that took his life, that the doctor says was painless, and it was instant. And because he's Muslim, his father, he had to be buried within 24 hours.
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah.
was almost like when I saw him in the casket, it looked like he was asleep until I kissed his forehead and it was so cold. So I was a dead woman walking
Yeah.
because I'd gone through all these years of him getting well, getting better. And
Hmm.
so I address this in my film. I address so my film is not about pharmaceuticals. It's more about what I just talked, the spiritual walk, the funny, the kinds of experiences you have when you encounter yourself or someone else. So I also address postpartum depression. It's told through song, comedy, stand-up storytelling, and it moves very, very quickly. Boom, 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 and moves just really
So it
quickly.
moves much faster than actual menopause
Yes, it
does.
does. It does.
It,
But it
that's your
covers a
gift to the
lot of
audience.
ground.
Your gift to the audience is that you cover a lot of ground,
Yeah,
beyond menopause and within menopause, but you do it in a reasonable running time.
yeah.
Um, so now, tell me a little bit about the making of this film and capturing this show.
Okay, well, Jonathan Jewel Chatton, he is the director, and his production company is called Black Pepper Studios. So
Hmm.
it was a 5 camera shoot. We filmed it at Detroit Public Theater here in Detroit. We filmed over 3 days, and Jonathan edited, which he studied with one of the top editors in Los Angeles. So he edited, and I performed it. I performed. I'm an actor. I'm a comedian. I'm a singer. So I performed it, and in front of a live audience. And so I had, as you know, as a comedian yourself, there's nothing like that exchange between yourself and the audience, but I didn't know whether it would translate to someone sitting down and watching it. So I had a
Right.
screening, and the women were just as riveted seeing it on the screen. So I felt really confident in the film, being something that women could sit down and watch together as a watch party or just by themselves. But it's a roller coaster of emotion. You will be laughing, crying, in shock. I talk about sex. I talk about postpartum, talk about falling in love again, discovering yourself newly,
Wow, that's
um,
fantastic.
changing career paths, becoming an entrepreneur, um, as an artist. When Wall Street crashed, all my finances were lost, and how to come back from promising yourself, I'm going to do what I love to do for the rest of my life, no matter what. So it's a lot of
Well, yeah,
message.
it has what it really seems to have is this wonderful blend of, a story that so many people can benefit from hearing, but also being a very unique story, very unique to you. And it underscores the fact that menopause in itself is unique to every woman. So there's a sense of here's a very personal story on a very universal theme and other themes. And I'm very excited to see it when it comes out. What's so once this comes out, it's getting out there. What's on the agenda for you?
Well, it's going to be released globally.
Yeah.
And so, what I'd like to continue to do is speak to the subject, and have more women become aware of the movement that this is. And so, because what I want for women is for them to have their symptoms addressed so that they can move more quickly and more effectively into that part where they do the introspection, because that's the part you're ready for. That's the part your life has taken you to, this moment where you can accept yourself, you can forgive yourself, you can heal yourself for all of those things that you were holding as regrets, as shame, as taboo. As you can come into the fullness of your spirit and be free, which if the largest demographic of women in the United States are women in some stage of menopause, think of the community that is. And also, if we understand what's going on with us, we can be responsible. We can tell our partners, our husbands, our children, our employers, what's going on, so that we can get the support. But we
Yeah.
do this in silence, and now we're not going to work for whatever reason because we don't want to tell our boss, my periods are so heavy, I feel like I'm going to drip through the office, or my cramps are so bad, or I'm just depressed today and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be afraid of yourself that, oh, I understand what's going on with me. My doctor is prescribing this or that or this, and then my symptoms aren't plaguing me, and I can do the spiritual work that
Yeah.
that that this, because when I went to Japan, you go in the bank and the women there would be 24 or less, the working
Okay.
at the bank. And then you wouldn't see them anymore. And then you go to the pachinko parlors and you see them smoking cigars, owning the pachinko parlors, because now they've gotten all of that out. Their husbands are in the brothels, which are next to a temple. And everybody, they take into account your hormonal cycles,
Right.
and they take into account who you are. And they
Yeah.
give the women the power later in life, which is, I mean, that's when women can take power, where women have that experience and they're not giggly and have to get a husband and have raised children and be distracted. I shouldn't say distracted, but
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever it takes a lot to raise
Well,
children.
there's a level of honesty that you're hitting on that I think that same honesty that makes people uncomfortable. It's like anything. You're only uncomfortable for a minute. It's like you're only uncomfortable. You're only when you have to have a difficult conversation, it's only until you start having the conversation. When you have to do a report for school, it's only until you get started. It's that hump of getting over something that seems enormous, seems insurmountable, or certainly not appealing to talk about. But once you get there and you embrace it, then the hard part is over. The hardest part is over. The life is a series of challenges. Life is a series of hard parts. So the hardest part is to confront reality. And that's one of our things on this show is to laugh in the face of reality, to but do everything but turn away from it. So thank you so much, Satori, for being on the show. I'll give you the last word as the guest. Let our audience know where they can find you. I know what platforms the film will be on, but let them know where to find you if they're curious to learn more.
Please visit my website, satorishakoor.com, or twistedtellers.org, because I have a storytelling platform where I coach storytellers. They come on stage, tell their true personal story. You can find us on YouTube, whole archive of performances, over 800 storytellers so far over these past 13 years. And I want to say to the last thing you just said, I think fear I think fear is more scarier than the thing that you're afraid of. That's why when you said once you get into it, then but the fear of doing something. So my last word to your listeners, and thank you for the honor and the privilege of being
My
here on
pleasure.
your show, is to say, wherever you are stopped, because as human beings, we will get stopped in life, push past.
Thanks so much for tuning into Truth Tastes Funny. If you enjoyed the experience, please leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your friends.